The 2004 Indian Ocean Tsunami, an unprecedented disaster that binds 14 nations, a shared tragedy. Hundreds of thousands of lives shattered in an instant.
මට එකවර අපි 4 දෙනෙක් ඉඳලා බොහොම ශනිකවම පැය භාගයකට විනාඩි 5කටත් අඩු කාලයකින්.
After Indonesia, Sri Lanka and India are the worst hit, with a combined death toll of over 40,000. In the face of loss, communities unite to help neighbors get back on their feet.
போக ஆரம்பித்தோம். ஒரு சில பேர் ஒரு 100 படகுல ஒரு 10 படகு போயிருக்கோம், அடுத்து ஒரு 20 படகு போயிருக்கோம், அடுத்து அப்படியே கம்பல்சரி போக ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்க.
20 years after the disaster, a portrait of communities reborn from ruin emerges. This seafront church in Velankani, Tamil Nadu, draws millions of pilgrims from across the globe every year. Built in the 1600s, it's renowned for something more than its stunning Gothic architecture. Over the past 400 years, it is said countless miracles have been witnessed within its walls, from the healing of the handicapped to divine apparitions. The most recent miracle was recorded on Boxing Day 2004. At 9 that morning, after Sunday Mass, parishioners and pilgrims head to the beach to unwind. But in an instant, their holy holiday weekend is wrecked.
They were looking at the thing, they were enjoying the waves so big, then suddenly when it approached very close to them, they came to know that it is something very dangerous and very disastrous. And thank God that water didn't enter into the main church. There it came and it took a deviation. That is a miracle, we say.
Joe Stalin, the church's clerk, has vivid recollections of that fateful day. He had just finished work and was heading home when chaos engulfed the community.
அங்கேருந்து வந்துருந்தப்போ ஏத்தாப்புல மக்கள் ஓடிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. எதுக்கு ஓடாங்கன்னு தெரியலன்னா கேட்கும்போது அவங்க சொல்கிறாங்க கடல் பொங்குது ஏன்னா கடல் பொங்குதுங்கிறது எனக்கு அப்போ எங்களுக்கு தெரியாது. அதாவது இந்த பக்கம் எங்கள் ஆறை பார்த்த மாதிரி வந்துக்கிட்டு இருக்கேன். இப்போ ஆற்று கடல் பொங்குன தண்ணி ஆறு வழியாக வந்து இங்கே ஏறி குதிச்சதை பார்த்த உடனே தான் எனக்கு பயம் வந்துச்சு. உடனே என் சைக்கிளை நிப்பாட்டிட்டு எங்கள் கோயில் ஜென்ரேட்டர் ரூம் இருக்குது, ஜென்ரேட்டர் ரூமில் ஏறி நின்னோடனையும் சென்னை பசங்கன்னா வந்தாங்க. வந்துட்டு இங்கே நிற்கிறீங்க வாங்க மேலேன்னு மேலத்துக்கு மொட்டை மாடியில் கூட்டு போயிட்டு அங்கே போய் நின்னோங்க. ஒரு 10-15 நிமிஷத்தில் திருப்பி தண்ணி வடிஞ்சிடுச்சு.
In just those 15 minutes, the tsunami claimed over 2,000 lives across Velankani. But the residents and tourists who managed to find refuge in the church were spared. When Joe finally mustered the courage to step outside, he was greeted with death and devastation.
அப்போ வரும்போது எங்கள் எல்லா வாசலில் பிள்ளைங்க அண்ணன் பையன் அக்கா தம்பியா அண்ணன் தங்கச்சான்னு தெரில கட்டி பிடிச்சி கிடந்துச்சிங்க. அது பார்த்தோம்னா எங்களால் அதுக்கப்புறம் அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒவ்வொருத்தராக எடுத்தோம். வர இடத்துலாம் வெறும் இதுதான் சவமாக தான் இருந்துச்சு. அது பணமாக தான் வெறும் பணம் தான் பார்த்தோம். பாதி பேருக்கு துணி இல்லை, பாதி பேருக்கு நகை இல்லை, துணி இல்லை, எதுவும் இல்லை. நிறையா பேர் நாங்கள் 2-3 நாளாக திருப்பி நாங்கள் ரிலீஃபில் தான் ஒர்க் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தோம்.
Many of the victims were unrecognizable, their bodies never claimed. Joe helped arrange the burial of hundreds. They now rest in the middle of what used to be a forest, near a memorial dedicated to them.
அந்த அளவுக்கு அது பாதிக்கும். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு ஏரியாவை நாங்கள் போனப்போ எடுத்தோம் பாருங்க ஒவ்வொன்றும். அது இன்ன வரைக்கும் எங்களால் மறக்கவே முடியாது. 20 வருஷம் ஆனாலும் இப்போ நான் விஷயம் நீங்கள் என்ன இதை சொல்கிறத மறந்துட்டுருக்கணும் என்ன நடந்து இதை சொல்கிறதுக்கு மறக்க சுனாமினா எங்கள் கண்ணுக்கு முன்னாடி எல்லாமே வரும்.
Across the community, the episode inflicted a heavy emotional toll that lingers to this day. Some even facing a crisis of faith after enduring such a trauma just a day after Christmas. Father Irudaya Raj was an assistant priest in 2004. In the wake of the disaster, Father Irudaya dedicated himself to guiding the congregation on a journey of healing.
They were thinking that God is not okay with us and God is in a way somehow punishes. That idea was very prevalent at the time. We went all around meeting people, telling irrespective of caste and creed. We went beyond everything and told the people it is not punishment or anything. Even though you have lost your father or your mother or your cattle or your wealth, whatever it is, God has given us the power to come up. It was painful. That aspect I never deny. It was very painful. It was really hard to accept. But at the same time, we never allowed the people to remain in that status. Many were there to speak to the people, to encourage them, come up in life. We have got, perhaps a second life is given to us. Let's go for it.
Fishmonger Anjamal Ayadare has fought hard to rebuild her life from the wreckage of the tsunami. When the waves robbed her of a home, she and her family started over in a new housing estate built by the government. But even now, Anjamal struggles to accept a devastating reality. Her family of 4 today could have been one of 8.
சருமே வயசு அப்போ 8 இப்போ வந்து 24.
When the tsunami struck in 2004, it claimed the lives of 4 of Anjamal's children, 3 daughters and a son. This faded photograph is all she has left of them.
அம்மா இருந்தாங்க, பார்த்துக்கிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. நான் கிழக்க போயிட்டு மீன் எடுத்துகிட்டு இருக்கும்போது கடலில் ஆளை வந்து அடிக்கல, தண்ணி அப்படி சும்மா ஒடியாந்துட்டு இருக்கும்போது அதை கவனிக்கல. அது எப்போதும் அப்படி வாரையது தான் அப்படின்னு இருந்தோம். திரும்பி மீன் நாங்கள் ஏலம் கட்டிட்டு இருக்கும்போது ரொம்ப வேகமாக படவெல்லாம் வந்து எங்கள் மேலே ஓட்டுற மாதிரி ஒடியாந்துச்சு. நாங்கள் ஒடியாந்துட்டோம். குழந்தைங்கள்லாம் வீட்டில் விட்டு வந்தோமே அப்படின்னு. வீட்டுக்கு வாரத்தில் ரொம்ப எங்களை அடித்து ஒரு பக்கமாக தள்ளிடுச்சு. அம்மா என் பிள்ளைகளை காப்பாற்றுமான்னு நான் கத்துனேன். வேறு அந்தாண்ட வீட்டில் நின்றுட்டு என்னால் வீட்டுக்கு வந்து சேர முடியல. பிள்ளைகளை காப்பாற்றுமான்னு கத்துனேன். காப்பாற்றி இங்கே கையை எடுக்கிறதுல தண்ணி வந்து வீட்டோட சேர்த்து அடிச்சிட்டு போயிடுச்சு. அப்படி எங்கள் கண்ணுக்கு முன்னாடி அப்படியே என் பிள்ளைகளை அப்படியே இழந்துட்டு என்ன சொல்கிறேன்னே தெரியல. அந்த மாதிரி இழப்பு எங்களுக்கு ஆகுனுச்சு. என்ன பண்ணி நம்ம மேலே வரணுங்கிறத வச்சு எங்களால் ஒன்றும் முடியல. ரொம்ப வாழ்க்கையில் ரொம்ப நாங்கள் நொந்துகட்டுப்பட்டோம். அதுக்கு முன்னாடி அந்த பிள்ளை இருக்கும்போது ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக வாழ்ந்தோம். இந்த பிள்ளையெல்லாம் போன பிறகு எங்களோட வாழ்க்கையை நாங்கள் தொலைச்சிட்டு நாங்கள் நிற்கிறோம். ஏன்னாலும்
In the years that followed, Anjamal and her husband welcomed 2 more children. Despite the joy they bring, she still mourns for the 4 she lost to the savage waves.
எங்கள் பிள்ளைங்க வந்து அது என்ன பொங்கலுக்கு தீபாவளிக்கெல்லாம் பார்த்தோன்னாக்கா எங்கள் பிள்ளைங்க நான் வரும். அதோட நம்ம என்னத்தான் இருந்தாலும் அந்த பழசை மறக்க முடியுமா? அதுதானே நம்மளுக்கு ஞாபகத்து வரும். என்ன பொருள் சின்ன பொருள் வாங்கினாலும் அந்த பிள்ளைய ஞாபகம் வரும். அதை பேத சொல்லி நாங்கள் பல்ல கூப்பிடுவோம், பேசுவோம், உயிரோட இருக்கிற மாரி நடந்துக்குவோம். நாங்கள் செத்து இருந்தேன், நாங்கள் நடந்துக்கல. எங்கேயாச்சும் வெளியில் போனால் என் மனை போட்டு வரமான்னு சொல்லுவேன். என் பிள்ளைன்னா உயிரோட இருக்கிற மாதிரி நான் பைத்தியக்காரி மாதிரி நான் பல்ல பேசுவேன். நான் பெத்தி வளர்த்த பிள்ளைய மறக்க முடியுமா? இங்கே தான் நாங்கள் எல்லா பிள்ளைகளும் பார்த்தோம். இந்த இடத்துல தான் நாங்கள் எடுத்தோம். பிள்ளைகளெல்லாம் இங்கே தான் நாங்கள் எடுத்தோம். நாங்கள் அழிஞ்ச மாதிரியே மற்றவங்க அழியக்கூடாது. அதான் எங்களோட கடவுளை நாங்கள் வேண்டிக்கிறோம். மற்ற மக்கள் நல்லா இருக்கணும். திடீர்னு எங்களுக்கு இந்த மாதிரி நடக்கும்னு எங்களுக்கு தெரியாது. வாழ்க்கையில் ரொம்ப நொந்துகட்டு போட்டோம். என்ன மாதிரியே மற்ற பொண்ணு இருக்கக்கூடாது. அதுதான் நான் வேண்டி கேட்டேன் கடவுளை.
Elsewhere along coastal Tamil Nadu, Rajendran Nattar does what he can to help his community heal from the disaster. His convenience store doubles as a place to engage villagers and discuss issues of the day. A staunch follower of Mahatma Gandhi's teachings, Rajendran is a local politician and unionist. He pushes for change through petitions and peaceful protests, just as he did in the aftermath of the 2004 tsunami.
அரசாங்கம் விரைவான நடவடிக்கை எடுத்து பழைய மீன்பிடி துறைமுகம் மெட்ரோ மீன் இறங்குதளம் பகுதியான இந்த துறைமுகத்தை சீரமைக்கணும். கடலோடி மீனவ சமுதாயம் சொந்த நாட்டில் ஒரு அகதியாக இருந்துச்சு அப்படின்னு சொன்னால் தட்டை வச்சுக்கிட்டு எல்லாருமே எங்களுக்கு பிச்சை போடுங்கன்னு கேட்கக்கூடிய அவலமான நிலை எங்களுக்கு ஏற்பட்டுச்சு. வேற வழியே இல்லை. என்ன பண்றது? மீட்பு வேணும். வழியே கிடையாது. படகுகள்லாம் அழிஞ்சு போச்சு. ஒரு இன்னும் சொல்ல போனா 60 ஆண்டு காலத்தினுடைய மீனவ சமுதாயத்தினுடைய வாழ்க்கை ஒட்டுமொத்தமாக அழிந்த நிலை. அப்பதான் என் நண்பர்கிட்ட சொல்றேன், ஓரளவுக்கு நம்ம பாடியெல்லாம் எடுத்து அடக்கம் பண்ணிக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம். அப்படியே இருக்கிற இடத்துல வச்சு கொளுத்தி விட்டோமுங்க. அதாங்க கொடுமை. விறகுகளெல்லாம் அப்படியே போட்டு எண்ணெயை ஊற்றி கொளுத்தி விட்டுருவோம். ஃபயர் சர்வீஸ்காரவங்க அங்கேருந்து வந்து வேணுக்குனே கொளுத்தி விடுறாங்கன்ட்டு அவதூறு எங்கள் மேலே என் மேலையெல்லாம் சொன்னாங்க. நான் கூட அப்போ கலெக்டரேட்டை சொன்னேன், இப்படி சொல்கிறாங்களே மனம் இருக்கிறதா இவர்களுக்குன்னு. நான் பார்த்துக்கிறேன்னார் கலெக்டர் ராதாகிருஷ்ணன். நல்ல மனிதர்கள், ஊக்கப்படுத்த தெரியும், உங்கள் கடமையை செய்யுங்க, நாங்கள் பார்த்துக்கிறோம்.
Most of these challenges were addressed in the months following the tsunami. Today, Rajendran continues to brave obstacles as he champions his community's needs. This seawall along the coast of Kichankuppam village stands as a testament to his efforts to prevent history from repeating itself.
நாங்கள் சொன்னோம், கடலோர நெடுகிலும் அலைத்தடுப்பு சுவர், தூண்டில் வளைவு கடல் அலையடி தூரத்திலே செய்துவிட்டு எஞ்சிய பகுதிகளே இயற்கை மரக்கன்றுகளை நடவு செய்ய வேண்டும் என்று சொன்னோம். அவர்கள் உடனடியாக ஏற்பாடு செய்து 2005 முடிவு 2006ஆம் ஆண்டு இந்த அலைத்தடுப்பு சுவரை போர்க்கால அடிப்படையில் செய்தார்கள். இது எங்களுடைய கண்காணிப்போடு இது போடப்பட்ட அலைத்தடுப்பு சுவர். இந்த அலைத்தடுப்பு சுவர் பத்திரமாக இருந்தது. ஒவ்வொரு வருஷமும் எங்களுக்கு பேரிடர் ஏற்படும். வடகிழக்கு பருவகாலத்தில் கடல் பொங்கி வெளியே வரும். அவ்வப்போது அந்த அலைத்தடுப்பு சுவர் போட்ட பின்னாடி எங்களுடைய கிராமங்கள் பாதிக்கப்படாமல் இருந்துச்சு. இந்த சமுதாயம் மறுபடியும் அழிவுக்குள்ளாகிவிடக் கூடாது என்கின்ற
Tucked along the coastline in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu, this village has long relied on the sea for its survival. Devraj Baramanthan has been fishing since he was a teenager. It's how he's provided for his family over the past 4 decades.
ஆனால் கடலில் வந்து உண்மையிலுமே கடலை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் அப்படி ஒரு தொழில் கடவுள் கொடுத்தது எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப புனிதமான தொழில், கலப்படம் இல்லாத தொழில். நேசித்து பண்ணாக்கா அது நமக்கு கண்டிப்பாக கை கொடுக்கும். அதான் சார் அது கடல் வந்து கடல் மாதான்னு சொல்கிறோம். அது கடல் வந்து நமக்கு மாதாவாக இருக்கும்போது அதுக்கிட்ட நம்ம எவ்வளோ அருமையாக பக்தி நாணயத்தோடு நடந்துக்கிறோமோ அது நம்மள்ட்ட அவ்வளோ அன்பாக நடந்துக்கும்.
But on December 26, 2004, it was their mother's wrath that the community faced. It was the day after Christmas. Many were at the beach, soaking in the festive spirit. Devraj had planned to take his boat out to sea. He felt the conditions were perfect for catching prized pomfrets. But the ocean had plans of her own.
பார்த்தா சவுண்டு மட்டும்தாங்க. அப்படியே அந்த அலை போனால் அப்படி விண்ண தொடுது. அப்படி இவ்வளோ பெரிய ராசு 2 பனைமரம் உயரம் இருக்கும். அதை நாங்கள் அந்த அளவு தான் குறிப்பிட முடியும் எங்களால். அவ்வளோ ஹைட்டில் வந்து அடித்து தூக்குனுச்சு பாருங்கள். எல்லாத்தையும் கடைகள் எல்லாத்தையும் மக்கள் எல்லாம் சேர்த்து அடிச்சுட்டு வருது. அடே தம்பி கடல் உக்க கிளம்பிடுச்சுடா ஓடிடுங்கடா அப்படின்னாங்க. எங்கே ஓடுறது? இந்த ஊருக்கும் கடல் அந்த ஆற்றுக்கும் கிட்டத்தட்ட 700 மீட்டர் தூரம் இருக்குது. எங்கேயும் ஓட முடியாது. அங்கே ஒரு குண்டு மணல் ஒன்று இருக்கும். நான் போய் என்ன செஞ்சேன், என்னுடைய படகு நிற்பாட்டியிருந்த படகுல போய் நான் ஏறிட்டாங்க. அந்த பாலத்து வழியே எங்களை அடித்து தூக்கிட்டு போகுது. பார்த்தா வெறும் ஆட்கள் தான் என்னை காப்பாற்றுங்க என்னை காப்பாற்றுங்கன்ற ஒரே ஓலம் தான், ஓல சவுண்டு மட்டும்தான்.
The Indian Ocean Tsunami claimed over 10,000 lives across India. About 8,000 of them from Tamil Nadu.
எல்லாம் கவனிக்கிறாங்க, எல்லாமே கொடுக்குறாங்க. கொடுத்து என் பிள்ளை இல்லாத எங்களுக்கு நிம்மதி கிடையாது. வீடுலாம் கிடையாது, வீடெல்லாம் தோத்துட்டோம். ஒரு ஆஸ்தி கூட கிடையாது. நாங்கள் ஓடி போய் பொழைச்சி சம்பாரித்து சாப்பிடலான்னு ஒன்று கூட கிடையாது. எல்லாம் உருட்டி எடுத்துக்கின்னு போச்சு.
Devraj's mother and 3-year-old daughter were among those lost to the disaster. He remembers searching through piles of bodies to find them, an experience that would haunt him forever.
நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி தான் சார். எங்களை தூக்கன்றது வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட 1 மாதமாக நாங்கள் தூங்கவே இல்லை. ஏன்னா இந்த சுனாமியில் இந்த பிணங்களோட இருந்தது, பிணங்களை தூக்கிட்டு போய் டிஸ்போஸ் பண்ணது, இதெல்லாம் படுத்தாலே தூக்கம் வரல. தூக்கத்தை தொலைச்சிட்டு தான் இருந்தோம் சார். நாங்கள் உண்மையாக கடலுக்குள்ளே போகிறதுக்கு பயம்னாக்கா அப்படி ஒரு பயம் வந்து வாழ்க்கையிலே என்ன நிறைய கடலுக்குள்ளே போகும்போது கால்கெல்லாம் ஆட ஆரம்பிச்சிருச்சு, நடுக்க ஆரம்பிச்சிருச்சு. ஆனால் அந்த மாறுதல்லாம் மாற்றினது இந்த தொண்டு நிறுவனம் தான் சார் முழுமையான காரணமே. அது இப்போ நீங்கள் சொன்னீங்களே, உபகரணங்கள் என்ன வேணும், என்ன படகு வேணும், என்ன வலைகள் வேணும், எப்படி மீன் பிடிக்கணும், நீங்கள் கடலுக்கு போங்க. ஏன்னா டெய்லி ஒருத்தர்கிட்ட வந்து ஒன்றில் ஆறுதல் சொல்லும்பொழுது அந்த மனநிலை கொஞ்சமாக மாற ஆரம்பிச்சிச்சு. மாறின பிறகு தான் பல நாட்கள் வீட்டில் இருந்தோம். சரி இதுக்கு மேலே நம்மளால் இருக்க முடியாதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஊர் பஞ்சாயத்தரெல்லாம் ஒன்றா கட்டுக்கோப்பாக சேர்ந்து ஒரு மறியல்நிலைக்கு போகிறவங்க எல்லோரும் கட்டாயப்படுத்தக்கூடாது அப்படின்ற ஒரு மனநிலைக்கு போக ஆரம்பித்தோம். ஒரு சில பேர் ஒரு 100 படகுல ஒரு 10 படகு போயிருக்கோம். அடுத்து ஒரு 20 படகு போயிருக்கோம். அடுத்து அப்படியே கம்பல்சரி போக ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்க. பையன் பிஇ மெக்கானிக் முடித்தான், பொண்ணு பிஎஸ்சி கெமிஸ்ட்ரி முடித்தா, பொண்ணு வந்து கல்யாணம் பண்ணி கொடுத்தேன் நல்ல இடத்துலையே. அதுக்கெல்லாம் காரணம் என்னடானா என்னுடைய முழு உழைப்பு. டெய்லியும் போட்டுக்கு போகணும், சம்பாதிக்கணும். ஒரு 1000 ரூபாய் கிடைச்சாலும் பரவாயில்ல, எந்த கெட்ட பழக்கமும் இல்லாமல் நல்லபடியாக குடும்பத்தை கவர்ந்து போனேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு நம்ம குழந்தைங்களுக்கு ஒரு ரோல் மாடலாக இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு தான் இந்த 20 வருஷ காலத்தில் நான் அந்த தொழிலை பார்த்துருக்கேன். அந்த தொழிலுக்கு வந்து எனக்கு மூலதனமாக கை கொடுத்துச்சு கொஞ்சம்.
Located about 10 kilometers away, the Nagaur Dargah is an enduring symbol of resilience and compassion. Built about 500 years ago in honor of the revered Sufi saint Shahul Hamid, this sacred Muslim shrine became a sanctuary for nearly 3,000 people displaced by the tsunami. Said Kamil Sahib, the shrine's former president, vividly recalls the moment he opened the doors to those in need in the wake of the disaster.
And மேடம் இந்த சுனாமின்னு நினச்சாவே நெஞ்சை பதைக்குது. ஏழைகளுக்கு கஷ்டம். ஏழைகள் மட்டுமில்ல, பணக்காரர்களும் எல்லா தரப்பு மக்கள்களும். அங்கு நாங்கள் பார்த்தது மனித உரிமை, மனித தன்மை தான் பார்த்தோம். ஜாதி மதம் மற்ற இதெல்லாம் பார்க்கல. தர்காவுக்கு அவர்கள் அந்த சுனாமியால் பாதிக்கப்பட்ட போது அலையை அடித்து அவர்கள் வந்தபோது அவங்களுக்கு அரவணைச்சி தர்காவில் உள்ள அவங்கள இருக்க இடம் கொடுத்தோம். ஒரு டைம்லாம் சொல்லலை, அவங்க எவ்வளோ நேரம் விரும்புகிறாங்களோ அது வரையில் அவங்க இருக்கட்டும். அவங்களுக்கு உள்ள தேவையான உதவிகள் என்னென்ன தேவையோ அதையெல்லாம் மாவட்ட கலெக்டர் மூலம் பாதிக்கப்பட்டவங்களுக்கு சிரமப்படுறவங்களுக்கு உதவி செஞ்சு கொண்டே இருக்கிறோம். இது ஒன்றும் எங்களுக்கு பெரிய இதல்லை. ஆனால் சுனாமி உதவி ஒரு பெரிய ஒரு தெம்பையும் தைரியத்தையும்.
Due to his ailing health, Kamil has passed the leadership of the shrine to his son, Khalifa. Of all the responsibilities Khalifa has inherited, there's one with a special significance. Attending to the maintenance of the Dargah's graves.
Mass burial has been happened in Nagur Dargah in the year of 2004. Almost more than 300 bodies together, it has been mass burial. Every year, the Hindu people, they will come and do the rituals of their Hindus' religions rituals. That's also we are allowing. Those days, we are not seeing it's a Hindu body, it's a Muslim body, it's a Christian body. As a humanity, as a harmony of Nagur Dargah, all together we are allowed to bury in mass burial. So till date they are coming and doing their rituals. This is the only burial ground where Muslims and Hindus together has been buried. It's a very significant, remarkable incident for the Nagur Dargah history.
In the months after the disaster, the scale of recovery required a collective effort, one that went far beyond the reach of NGOs and religious groups. Dr. Radhakrishnan Jagnathan is the former district collector of Nagapattinam, a senior civil servant in the district. He was sent to lead relief and rehabilitation efforts in the affected communities. Radhakrishnan had thought it would be a one-day task until he witnessed the magnitude of destruction.
We have to work with the communities to build the entire habitat again. It was not like a fire accident where you have to rebuild a house there. The habitat had totally got destroyed. So it was fairly tough, but definitely people and we started working, and we had to build back better. We could not build the same houses the same way where they were. As we are coming through, we could see thousands of people evacuating Nagapattinam. So that itself showed that something very eerie had happened.
It was even more harrowing for the over 1,000 children separated from their parents by the tsunami.
நான் சுனாமில எங்க வீடு அடிச்சு போயிடுச்சு பழையபடி. அதே நான் வீடு கட்ட ஆசைப்பட்டேன். அதனால இப்ப வரைபடம் மூலமா நான் வந்துட்டேன்.
Of these displaced children, about a fifth of them became orphans. For Radhakrishnan, protecting them was a top priority.
Orphans were the toughest challenges. So initially what happens is that quite a lot of, and this is something where, it can even end up in child trafficking. And luckily NGO government coordination was very supportive. So it moved on, and finally we could build a very beautiful orphanage. So there were a lot of support, but having said that, loss of parents, whether it is single or double, is something uncomparable to these kind of measures.
Radhakrishnan and his wife made regular visits to the orphanage, forming close bonds with many of the children, whom they came to regard as their godchildren.
So, like you can see the growth phases of Meena.
Over the years, the couple kept in touch with several of them, watching with pride as they became accomplished adults. He recently attended the wedding of one of them.
It was such a touching affair, it left everybody in tears. This girl who was a baby, not knowing who her parents were, got married in front of all of us. When you meet them as a group, despite having so much of losses, they look to this world with gratitude and are proud of what they have done. Another lady who was married to a fisherman, she went on to do PhD. So when you talk to them, you really find that they symbolize the resilience of the humankind. Human beings, despite so much of adversity, we bounce back.
In the coastal village of Peraleya, 120 kilometers south of Sri Lanka's capital, this railway line has a dark and tragic history. Waigratne Karuntaillekeha used to work as a train guard. He was responsible for ensuring the safety of both passengers and cargo. On December 26, 2004, he was on duty on board the Ocean Queen, a train running between Colombo and Matara. It never arrived at its destination.
එතකොට තමයි ඔය පැලෑරි හරියේ මේ ඒ සංඥාව මේ අතුපත් වුණා. අතුපත් වෙලා අපි ගොච්චේ සාමාන්‍යක විනාඩියක් මේ සංඥාව ඉස්සලා. මම ඒක කොපියක් තියාගෙන එයාට කොපියක් දීලා මම දුම්රිය ජිමේ ගමන් කරන්න ඕන. ඉදිරියේ මොකක් හරි තියෙනවා නම් බලාගෙන.
That decision still haunts Waigratne 20 years later.
ඒක ඒ විදිහට රාජකාරී කරන්න තමයි බලාගෙන මම හිටියේ. ඒ අතරතුරේ තමයි මේ පොඩි වතුර පාරක් ආව නවත්තනකොට පොඩි වතුර පාරක් ආව ඉඳගෙන වතුරේ ඉන්න වගේ පොඩි ගතියක් තමයි පෙන ගතියක් එක්ක. යනවා රිවුලට යනවා මේ වාහනේ හැරෙම යනවා. ඒකට තමයි දෙවෙනි වතුර පාර ආවේ මගේ කකුල් දෙකත් එක්ක තෙමිලා. ඒ වතුර පාර සැරට ඇවිල්ලා ඒ වතුර පාරත් එක්ක එනකොට මේ ගෙවල් තියෙන බ්‍රිජ් ඉතරම ඉවත් පාවෙන්. ගෑනු ළමෙක් කෙනා අවුරුදු 16 ක විතර වගේ ගෑනු ගහ ගෙල්ලලා වතුර පාරත් එක්ක ගහලා ගහ ගෙල්ලලා ඉන්නවා. තම අවුරුදු 12ක් විතර පිරිමි ළමෙක් මේ ගේට්ටු කනුවක මේ අර යකඩ ඉඳලා වෙලා අර ළමයා එල්ල වෙලනවා මම ඒ ගමන ගිහිල්ලා අර යුනිෆෝම් ගලවලා මේ අර ළමයා අරගත්තා.
Seconds after these young lives are saved, another wave crashes in. It tears the train off the tracks, hurling carriages 100 meters away.
ආගම සිහි කරනවා. ආගම සිහි කරමින් ඒකම තමයි වතුර පාර යන්නේ එකපාරට සම්පූර්ණ මුළු කෝච්චියම වැහුවා වතුරේ. වැහුනම පස්සේ අමුතුම සද්දයක්. ඒ සද්දේ මට මේ මාසයක් කරනකම් ඒ සද්දෙත් එක්ක මම බය වෙලා නැගිටිනවා මේ ඉතර ඇවිල්ලා අතර ආවට පස්සෙත් නැගිටිනකම් ඒ තරම් සද්දෙන් තමයි වැදුනේ යට කරේ. ඒ වතුර වැදෙනකොට මේ පෙට්ටිය මේ අච්චර ලොකු විශාල පෙට්ටියක් වුණාට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙන යට බෝගියත් එක්ක මේ චිම්පින් කියලා පොඩි මේ වගේ නට්ටකින් තමයි සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකෙන් ගැලවිලා පෙට්ටිය මත් මේ ගැලවුණා. බෝගිය වෙනමයි.
Nearly 2,000 people lost their lives in the train wreck. To this day, the Ocean Queen disaster remains one of the deadliest train accidents in history, a horrific reminder of the tsunami's devastating impact.
මම එනකොට මෙතන කෝච්චිය පෙරලා ගෙවල් ඔක්කොම විනාශ වෙලා මඩ වගුරක් පුලා තිබුණේ. ඒ වෙලේ මේ මැරිච්ච කට්ටිය ගුණවල තුන මේ මගේ පාර මේ හැමතැනම හෙව්වා. මගේ අම්මා තාත්තා ඉන්නවද කියලා බලන්න.
Waigratne helped pull about 100 passengers out of the wreckage, but he regrets he couldn't save more.
සංඛ්‍යාවකින් දෙකෙන් බගොමකට බේර ගන්න තිබුණා. ඒ මොකද විනාඩි 15ක විතර පරසයක් දීලා තිබුණා මේ දෙයියෝ විසින් දුන්නා මේ පොරට යන්න කියලා. දෙවෙනි වතුර පාරේ තුන්වෙනි වතුර පාරේ විනාඩි 10ක 15ක් විතර වගේ අතරතුරේ අපිට අතරතුරේ වතුර අපි හොච්චේ නැතුව ගොඩතරේට ගියා නම් අපිට බේරෙන්න තිබුණා. අපේ මොකද දෙනකොට මුත් අපි සුනාමි අපේ හිතුවේ මේ මූද කොට ගන්නවා කියලා නේ අර වාරකම් වගේ මූද ඇවිල්ලා මේ වෙනවයි කියන්නේ මේ පාරක් ඇවිල්ලා. එහෙම සුනාමි කියලා මෙහෙම එකක් තිබුණා නම් අත් වශයෙන් මුගක් දේවල්.
Over the last 20 years, Waigratne has been asked to recount his tsunami story in numerous book and media interviews.
මේ පොතම විදේශික මේ මාධ්‍ය මේ මෙයාට ඕනකම තිබුණා මේ මේ මං කියන්නේ මේක සිද්ධිය ඇත්තද නැත්තද කියලා. සොයලා මෙයා මේ ඉක්කඩුව ඒ වෙලාවේ මේ ඉක්කඩුව පැත්ත මේ තෙන්දි මේ එයා මේ විදේශික මහත්තයා ඉස්සරහා මෙයා තමයි මම බේරගත්තේ කියලා. මම පස්සේ යාට සැටසුණා මම ඇත්ත කියන්නේ කියලා. වතුර අඩු වෙච්ච නිසා. ඒනකොට තමයි මම දැක්කේ මාර කෝච්චි පෙට්ටි දෙක කෝච්චිය ගැලවිච්ච ස්ප්ලේස් එකේදී එනකොට මම හිතනවා ළඟම ඩ්‍රයිවර් කතා කරනවා මට ඉන්ජිමට එන්නේ. මම ඒ ඉන්ජිමට ගියෙත් නෑ ගහකට ගියෙත් නෑ. මම ඒ ගන්න ඉස්සරහට ගියා බලන්න. ඒතර මිනිස්සු කෑ ගහනවා. මේ කෝච්චියන කට්ටියත් බලනවා. ඉතින් ඒතකොට මම එල්ලා මේ
The Sri Lankan government repaired the tracks within 2 months of the disaster and got train services running again. Today, there are hardly any traces left of the carnage.
They rehabilitated the entire damaged railway by our own effort within just 57 days. And that was a historic achievement. And which showed to the entire world, not only Sri Lanka, that Sri Lanka is capable of resurrecting after a disaster of that scale.
Despite the recovery, the tragedy remains etched in the minds of over 1,000 Sri Lankans who lost loved ones to the accident. Like Sajith Wajitawira. He was just a teenager when he travelled on the Ocean Queen with his family on the way home from a vacation. His father and brother did not survive the train wreck. Sajith recalls looking for them while his mother recovered in hospital from her injuries.
ටික සුවතට හැරුණා. ඇය යථාර්ථයටපත් වුණා. සති දෙකක් අවසානයේ ඇය දන්නේ නැහැ මේ සිදුවීම් පෙළ. දැන් මගෙන් අහනවා තාත්තා ඉන්නවද? මල්ලි ඉන්නවද? කොහෙද යාළුවා ඉන්නේ? කින්ද මන් දහනවා. නමුත් මම එළියට එනකොටම මම එහෙන් එනකොටම හිත හදාගෙන ඉවරයි. දැන් මේ සියල්ල අපට අහිමි වෙලා. නැවත එන්නේ නැහැ.
අයියා වගේම ඉගෙන ගන්න හරිම දක්ෂයි. එයාට මේ ඔය පුළුවන් නිර්මාණාත්මක වැඩ
මට එකවර අපි 4 දෙනෙක් ඉඳලා බොහොම ශනිකවම පැය භාගයකට විනාඩි 5කට අඩු කාලයකින් හැබැයි මේ අදටත් වසර 20කට පස්සෙත් බහුතරයක් මම මිත්‍රයන් අතර ඉන්නකොට තාත්තා කියන නමින් කෝල් එනවා. නමුත් අදටත් මට තාත්තා කියන අකුරු තුනෙන් මට කතා කරන්නත් නැහැ. මට දුරකථන ඇමතුමක් එන්නෙත් නැහැ. ආවේගයේ බලවේගයක් වට හරවන්නේ කොහොමද? අන්න ඒ වගේ අපට මේ ආපු අපට ලැබිච්ච මේ ප්‍රහාරය මේ අපට ලැබිච්ච පීඩනය.
Today, Sajith serves as a counselor, guiding those whose lives have been derailed by trauma. From battle-hardened military veterans grappling with the scars of post-traumatic stress disorder, to families shattered by the sudden loss of loved ones in tragic accidents.
මට මොන ගහනවා ත්‍රිවිධ හමුදාවල් වල ඉඳලා මේ පවුලේ සමාජිකයෙක් කවුරු හරි මිය ගියාම මේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ අත්දැකීම් කොහොමද මුහුණ දෙන්නේ? අය අයට කොහොමද සමාජයට මුහුණ දිය හැකි මට්ටමේ පසුබිමක් හදාගන්නේ කොහොමද? තමන්ගේ මනස මානසික ඒකාග්‍රතාවය වර්ධනය කරගන්නේ කොහොමද? ඔන්න ඔය කියන පුළුල් පරාසයක් මම මිනිස්සුන්ට මගේ දැනුම් පරාසය පුළුල් කරගෙන මැරෙනකන් සන්තෝෂ වෙන්න පුළුවන් දෙයක්. ඇත්ත. වෙන විදිහට සරසරවුන්ට කියන එක අදාළත්වයක් නැහැ. මරුණ යාගේ ජීවිතය ඉවරයි. හැබැයි වැදගත් වෙන්නේ මරණයට මියදිච්ච පුද්ගලයාට පුටුගුණ සලකනවා කියන්නේ මම දකින්නේ අපි එයා වෙනුවෙන් ඒ අය වෙනුවෙන් ඒ අයට හානියක් නොවන පරිදි එයාට කැළලක් නොවන පරිදි සමාජයේ බොහොම හොඳට ජීවත් වීම. අපිට මේ දේවල් පුරුදු වෙන්නේ. වැටි නැගිටින්න ඕන. සුනාමිය කියන්නේ මට එක් අවස්ථාවක් පමණයි. ඒකට මම මුහුණ දුන්නා. ඒකට හොඳ විදියට මුහුණ දුන්නා. ඒක මගේ ජීවිතේ හොඳ අත්දැකීමක් වුණා. පිටුවහලක් වුණා. ඒ වයින් මම අත්දැකීම් සමුදායක් සපුරගත්තා. මගේ ජීවිතය හදාගන්න ඕන කොහොමද?
This district in southern Sri Lanka bore the brunt of the 2004 Indian Ocean Tsunami's destruction on the island. Of the over 30,000 lives claimed by the tsunami in the country, some 4,000 came from here.
අතක් එල්ලි තියෙනවනේ එතකොට ඒ අතල්ල බලන ආඩ් වැටෙනවනේ මේ අම්මව බේර ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා මිනි ටික පෙරලා දාලා මගේ ගොඩ මිනි පහක් විතර තිබුණලු පෙරලා දාලා මාව උස්සගෙන ගියාලු අය මගේ පුතාට අතර ගන්න මේ මගේ පුතාට පිස්සුවක් දෙතුණා මේ දුක ඉවස ගන්න බැරුව.
Thousands of residents were also left homeless. Hambantota suffered the worst post-tsunami flooding in the country. The area was submerged for over 2 months, making recovery efforts near impossible.
எங்களுக்கு உதவிகள் வாரதுக்கான பாதைகள் தடப்பட்டிருக்கு. இது ஒரு தீவாக இருந்ததால எல்லாம் உடைப்பட்டு ஒன்றும் வராத நிலையில் காணப்படுகின்றது.
Over the past 20 years, much of Hambantota has been rebuilt by the Sri Lankan government in collaboration with NGOs. Apart from rebuilding homes, priority was placed on restoring one crucial component of the infrastructure: education.
ඒකත් එක්ක සුනාමි ව්‍යසනයත් එක්ක දරුවන්ට අහිමි වෙන අවස්ථා ඇති කර දීමට තමයි මේ වගේ අධ්‍යාපන ආයතන බිහි වෙන්නේ.
Nilmani Priyadari is the principal of the Sri Lanka-Singapore Friendship College. It was founded by 2 non-profit organizations, the Singapore Red Cross Society and the Singapore Sinhala Association, in partnership with the Sri Lankan government. What sets the college apart from other schools in Sri Lanka is its focus on a critical issue highlighted by the tsunami's aftermath: the marginalization of women in Sri Lankan society.
One aspect that was clear was that many women were at home, attending to the unpaid care work that they do at home, looking after family members and so on, whereas men may have gone off to work. And so when the disaster happened, we found that more women were affected by the tsunami and the wave that came in their homes. They lost their lives in their homes.
Of the over 30,000 Sri Lankans who died in the tsunami, about 2/3 were women. Many of these women were housewives who did not complete high school. Since opening in 2010, the Sri Lanka-Singapore Friendship College has worked to address this imbalance by empowering young women through education.
දේවල් වලින් දුරස් වෙලා නැති අවස්ථා අපිට දකින්න තියෙනවා. මොකද මේ පුරුෂාධිපත්‍ය කියන එක තාමත් මේ සමහර තැන්වල හිස් ඔසවනවා. දැන් පහුගිය කාලවල කාන්තා හිංසනය තාමත් තියෙන තැන් තියෙනවා. කාන්තා හිංසනය කියන එක මේ වගේ පාසල් තුලින් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඒවයින් ඈත් වෙලා දැන් ව්‍යවසායකත්වය කියන එක කාන්තාවට අහිමි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ගෙදර වැඩ, කුස්සිය වැඩ ওই ටික තමයි කාන්තාවට සීමා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒයින් දුරස් වෙලා පහුගිය කාලේනොට හැබැයි රටේ නායිකාවොත් ඕන තරම් බිහි වුණා. ඒයින් ඈත් වෙච්ච නිසා වෙන්නේ නැති. නමුත් මේ මම හිතන්නේ සම අයිතිවාසිකම් දෙන්න ඕන කාන්තාවට. දැන් අපේ පාසලේ මේ විෂය ආවරණය ඉතා ඉහළ මට්ටමක සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අඩු පහසුකම් යටතේ හරි ක්‍රීඩා තියෙනවා, කැඩෙට් තියෙනවා, බාල දක්ෂ, පරිසර බට, මාධ්‍ය ඒකක. අපි අපේ දරුවෝ ටික ටික ඒ කියන්නේ පුළුවන් මට්ටමේ අපහසුතා මැද්දේ කොහොම හරි දරුවෝ ඉදිරියට ගෙන යන එක තමයි කරන්නේ.
Sapna Madhurika is a graduate of the college. She was only 3 when the tsunami swept through her community. While she herself didn't lose any family members, she grew up with stories of pain and loss shared by friends and relatives.
We were too small, but we heard about that from our mothers and our elders.
It was the enormous disaster ever happened in Sri Lanka because over 30,000 people lost their lives. Everything is changed now. After this such a disaster, people felt like we have to do something. Our life is the important. See, they want to study, they want to educate themselves, and they want to win their life, not to marry and be a housewife like before the tsunami.
After graduating, Sapna moved on to university, joining a growing wave of women in higher education. Since 2004, the number of women enrolling in state universities has grown by about 20%. It's a movement partly driven by new opportunities that emerged after the tsunami.
Today, we can see there are so many women leaders are there. They are running businesses, and also they are doing politics as well. So I think the system has totally changed nowadays. Nowadays, I'm learning in my university, and I'm facing lots of challenges very successfully because I got this guidance and power from my school.
With over 250 NGOs and governments stepping in, Sri Lanka received more than $650 million in assistance from around the globe. But the impact went far beyond money. In the wake of the disaster, Sri Lankans mobilized. They tapped into global expertise to tackle long-standing challenges. One key issue, the environment.
ඉගෙන ගන්න කඩුලාන ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් දන්න දෙයට අමතරව පොඩි දෙයක් ඉගෙන ගන්න තමයි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ.
For the past decade, conservationist Mudita Kattuwawala has been leading campaigns to protect Sri Lanka's reefs and mangrove forests. He believes these are vital ecosystems that could act as natural shields against disasters like tsunamis. Mudita was about the same age as these kids when he felt the devastating impact of the 2004 tsunami.
I remember after a week, 6 days after the tsunami, me and my father, along with a few others, a few of my father's friends, went down to down south to take some rations for the displaced people. And I remember going down the road, we couldn't take the road. The road was being cleared, but we saw like huge boulders, boats on the road, towns, houses just flattened. I remember I was sad. At the same time, I was shocked. People were helpless. They were just looking, staring into the sky without really understanding how they can overcome. They lost everything. Their families, loved ones, their property, everything was lost.
That experience transformed Mudita, igniting a lifelong mission to right the wrongs from 20 years ago. During the tsunami, Sri Lanka was the second worst hit country, despite being located 1,700 kilometers away from the epicenter. Mudita believes years of clearing mangroves and coastal forests are to blame. In the past 30 years, half of these forests have been lost to development.
The degradation by that time was quite severe. With the population increase, we saw that a lot of land has been utilized for construction. It could be houses, it could be hotels, could be anything. We know through the tsunami where the most areas that was conserved were the areas that were protected against the high impact from the waves and surges, but areas where there was high population with low natural ecosystem, huge impact. A lot of people died, a lot of people lost their property. Over time, a lot of people have sort of forgotten the impact that it had caused. I mean, we're talking about 20 years.
In recent months, Mudita has ramped up his campaign, calling for urgent action. He advocates that the growing impact of climate change demands Sri Lankans learn from the past before it's too late.
It's not like a tsunami, which comes like few minutes, but this is happening every day. Every year is the warmest year recorded. And this means like islands like Sri Lanka are going to be impacted severely. And so I think it's important that we understand the impact from climate change. And Sri Lanka has a natural way to create barriers, like, the carbon sequestration, mangrove, the seagrasses, they're all found in Sri Lanka. And so if we can actually harness these, protect these, conserve these, which can benefit the whole world, I think that has a long-lasting impact that we can create. Because end of the day, if we destroy these things, it's just going to be destroying ourselves in a short or long-term way.
Over the past 20 years, Sri Lanka has been battered by one crisis after another. From a continuing civil war that killed about 100,000 to a crippling debt crisis. In the face of these challenges, Sri Lankans stood strong, drawing on the same resilience that saw them through the devastating Indian Ocean Tsunami. Out of that destruction rose an overwhelming wave of compassion, and with it, ripples of change, as communities found hope, even in their deepest grief. As they journeyed against the tide towards recovery, they discovered the courage to face the future together.